This is my 2016 Scott Genius 940. It's an all aluminum frame. So we'll start out with the suspension. I have a Fox float. It's the 32 on the front. Fox float rear shock. I don't totally remember the travel on them. I think the fork is 140 millimeters. I think that the rear shock might be 100. You'll notice the cable coming out of the rear shock. The front one has it too. That's what this is here. It's a remote lockout. So that's locking them. And then hit that to unlock them. There's two settings. There's fully open and then partial. So you can do that on the fly while you're riding. Actually, I don't use it a whole lot. I mean, if I have a long climb, I'll lock them out. But if I'm on a cross-country trail, I use them a little more often. And I have Shimano SLX brakes, which have worked really well so far. Of course, I'm using resin pads. I think these rotors only can use resin pads. I don't think I can use metallic on here, but I think my bike stops perfectly fine. I've had to change the pads already. I got the ones with little heat sinks on them. It's actually really simple changing pads. Took me longer just to line the rotor up and everything than it did to actually install the pads. And the rear one had the same brake pads in there. And I have a Fox Transfer dropper post. It's a 150 millimeter. It's the biggest one they have. I actually really like that. It's probably my favorite upgrade on this bike that I've done. And that's the switch for the dropper post. I actually need to adjust this. When they put the new drivetrain on, they move this and just sitting up a little too high. I just want to have the button maybe down here and move the shifters down a little bit as well. And one thing I like about this frame is actually it has an internal routing for the dropper post. So it comes underneath outside the frame underneath, but then it swings around underneath up to here inside, and it goes up inside the tube. I like the clean look. As a comparison, my wife's bike has an external routing on hers. I mean, it works the same. I mean, there's no difference. I just kind of like the cleaner look of having it internal. And then SLX brake levers, stock handlebar, stock stem. So on to the new drivetrain. Have this is the SRAM GX Eagle crank and a GX Eagle front ring. It's an X-Sync ring. I'm not totally familiar with SRAM yet. This is the first time I've ever had a bike with SRAM components on it, but I think that means it's a narrow ring, and it helps keep the chain on better. And this is the SRAM GX 11-speed rear derailleur and 11-speed cassette. The cassette it's under the NX group, I think, but I think it's actually called like a PG 1130 or 1030. I actually have the box over there. I can look. I have all my old parts in here. Let's see. Yeah, it's 1130, and then you can see the tooth number of teeth on the cogs, 11 to 42. I actually think my bike actually climbs a little better than the 2x10 Shimano I had. It's like a full Shimano drivetrain. It's a Dior 2x crankset, Dior front derailleur, it's XT rear derailleur, and then Dior cassette. And then I ride flat pedals. These are Shimano. I actually really like these a lot. My feet stay on just fine. I used to ride SPD pedals. These are the SPD ones. Anyway, I don't ride the SPD pedals really anymore because it's part of my RA. It does affect my ankles a little bit, and it's kind of hard. My ankles are kind of stiff. It's kind of hard to unlock my feet off. I still can, but just in case. And here's the new SRAM shifter. It's a GX shifter. Actually, I like the feel of the gear changing on these SRAM. The Shimano, there's a lot of play in the buttons. I mean, I could push this like down to here and it wouldn't do anything. I had to like go all the way. And also Shimano, to upshift, you use your index finger on this side. With SRAM, everything's the thumb. I'm still getting used to that. But I like to feel the shifting. It feels mechanical, but not in a bad way. And then my tires, got Maxxis Aggressor in the back. They're 29 by 2.3. And in the front, also have Maxxis. These are Minion DHF, same size. These are the stock wheels. I had to convert them to tubeless for this to work. Which wasn't that big of a deal. The only problem I ran into was the crease on the front wheel. The sealant, after putting air in it, started bubbling out of the crease in here. So I actually had to take it into a shop, and they took the stance tape off, and they actually used a different tape, and they put the tape up higher on the inside of the rims, and it's working fine now. It's been holding air just fine. I actually kind of like the feel of the tubeless. It's more cushion. I mostly got it for the cushion because I'm running lower tire pressure. It's easier on my joints. But the bike feels more nimble. I didn't think it would be that big of a difference, but it actually feels like it is. And then I have I think it's a 50/50 rock mudguard. Mostly to see if I can help protect the underside of the bike, but also if it is wet out or whatever, keep it off the camera. That's probably about it. I might get new wheels sometime down the road. I was actually looking at some of the SRAM wheels. Stan's actually makes wheels too. Just get, tubeless ready wheels. Because some of it's maybe a little bit lighter, but also maybe want to get a new hub. One where I can put it's called an XD driver for SRAM parts, for the SRAM cassettes. Since I have a Shimano hub, I'm pretty much stuck with this cassette, which is a lower grade one. It's a heavier one, but you have to have an XD driver for like the 12-speed cassettes, and the driver won't fit on a Shimano hub. At least as far as I know, it can't. So maybe down the road. The wheels I was looking at are kind of expensive. They're like almost $1,000, and yeah, not something I really need right now. But that is probably about it. I can't think of anything else. Oh, my grips. I think they're called Ergo grips. I can't remember the model number. It's like E1A or something like that, but they're the shape of them. It's mostly, it just increases the surface area on my hands. But sometimes some of the bouncing around, it can kind of hurt my wrists. So this kind of helps distribute the pressure on my hands. So I've been trying to, all the little things I've been, well, the drivetrain is not little, but most of the stuff I've been getting are things to make it easier on my joints to ride. Like the grips, and changing the one by, because I have a hard time shifting with my left hand, so I just got rid of the front derailleur. That was my reason for that. And like I mentioned, the tires, more cushion with the tubeless setup. Even the shocks, I have a shock pump, and when they set it up at the bike shop, they set it up how they normally would for whoever based on my weight, but I kind of fine-tune stuff because the way I ride, I don't put as much of my weight on my arms. Most of it, I sit back a little bit and have more of the weight on my legs. So I added more air to the back shock, but took some air out of the front. And that also seems to help with my joints a little more, the cushion on my joints. And I noticed since I started doing that, I'm riding a little faster without having it hurt. And I'm even doing, up to like 2-foot drops, and it's feeling not too bad. I was going to try see if I can do higher jumps or drop offs, see how it feels, and see how it works, and I can adjust the shocks a little bit just to make sure I don't bottom them out. And so far I haven't. I mean, the rear shock, even doing like 2-foot drops, that's been about right there. I mean, yeah, it's close, but it's not totally bottoming them out. And the front's usually about right there. So I think I'm doing okay with that. Anyway, that's my bike.